So how will these huge bond sales affect the euro and other currencies? Well, let's ask BNP Paribas Global Head of Foreign Exchange Strategy. He's Hans-Guenter Redeker. Hans-Guenter, thank you for being on the show this morning. So 2010, another year, second day of the trade. What is your main concern for the next couple of months?
Well, I guess the main concern is, of course, is the impact of the timing when quantitative easing is going to be withdrawn. And as you pointed out in that other story, what is going to be the impact on bond markets? What is going to be the impact on capital yields? And it looks like that there is a yield increase underway. We have seen a significant increase there in the December to early January period that had a significant impact on the way the US dollar was trading against the yen. And I guess that this yield increasing story in the year 2010 is going to be a main focus in respect of how the yen is going to trade in 2010. Our focus here is that the yen is going to weaken quite significantly. Just to remind you, last year we were pointing out that it would be a year of yen strength, and at that point we argued that Japanese banks would be reluctant to lend abroad, and therefore it would lead to a collapse of the carry trade. It looks like that we are now seeing in 2010 just the reversal. So
Hans-Guenter, if you're expecting the Japanese yen to be the underperformer, the US dollar, there's been a lot of speculation, of course, that we may get renewed calls to challenge the supremacy of the dollar. Are we, although, going to see it rally this year?
I guess that the US dollar is going to rally, but it is going to be a rally against the selective currencies. So that means you can't make a kind of broad brush assessment concerning the evaluation of the US dollar. It is going to look totally different when you look at the Asian currencies' performance against the US dollar. There the US dollar might still decline. But when it comes to the performance of the US dollar against European currencies, against the British pound, for example, the euro, against those currencies, I assume the US dollar is going to do quite nicely.
So how do you position yourself for a global rebalancing, Hans-Guenter?
Well, the positioning of global rebalancing means that you have to have a very bullish attitude still concerning Asian assets. You, however, have as well to consider what is going to happen in the case that we get softer capital market controls into emerging markets. I assume that is going to be a very big story going forward, and that actually could mean that short-term financial flows are redirected back into G7, which actually could mean that we could head towards a period where equity markets are going to remain surprisingly strong in the first half of this year. And that is going to have on the equity markets, on the currency market side, as well implication of being a boost to those currencies which naturally perform better in a sense of better equity markets like Australia or Canada.
And at the same time, Hans-Guenter, of course, there will be a lot of fiscal tightening and fiscal divergence. How do you play that?
Well, the fiscal tightening is obviously going to be analyzed in the respect of how is going to be the growth impact. So what we are actually suggesting is that in the industrialized environment, you will have an underperforming economy, which is actually going to suggest that central banks will find it very difficult to hike interest rates. So that means that the yield curves are going to stay steep. That means that this liquidity, which is still in the United States, 9.1 trillion US dollar, that this liquidity is currently sitting in the most expensive asset class of the world. It needs to look for an alternative, and this alternative could be shares, but as well higher bond yields might attract some flows back into the bond market.
Hans-Guenter, we only have a couple of seconds left. Would you be buying emerging market currencies?
Yeah, you have to look again into this direction, and here is that Asian currencies are going to stand out. You have as well selected currencies in Latin America to consider. But even when you look into Central and Eastern Europe, if we are right concerning liquidity provided by the markets, there is a bet to make.
Hans-Guenter, great to speak to you. Thank you so much.